We hear proposals from central government as they seek relentlessly to squeeze out public spending, that a good wheeze would be to ask the PCC to take on responsibility for the fire service as well as the police service. I'd be interested to hear the views of our candidates on that proposal, which may be coming down the tubes not too far distant.
It's you now, is it?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, should the PCC also be responsible for the fire service as well as the police service? Rupert Moss Eckhart.
So there is a bill going through Parliament at the moment that will require a duty to collaborate. It's up to the local people to some extent through the fire authority, local councils and other things, for a case to be made as to the level of collaboration that is necessary or appropriate. I would argue that the fire service and the police service are two different services. Just because they both have blue flashing lights on the roof doesn't make them very similar. However, the police service does have some stuff to learn from the fire authority and the fire service, in that historically you expect the fire brigade to run into burning buildings, bring people out, and then put the fire out. That's not the best thing to be done. What fire service has done more recently is focus on risk management, reducing the likelihood of a fire starting in the first place. Smoke alarms, other fire education. So having the police focus more on stopping the crime happening is a good thing. But this collaboration is not going to work. They're different organisations.
Dave Agent, 30 years as a firefighter, would you welcome them both being under the same roof?
I've got the CV to do that job really so easily, but I'm really against it. The police are the arm of the state. The fire service have an entirely different role. They work with the public and for the public in a very different manner. To mix those two up would result in police officers being on fire appliances, fire officers being in police cars. It doesn't work. It might seem like a wonderful cut, but it doesn't work. What, as Rupert says, the police have got to learn from the fire service. They can learn about crime prevention, the way that the fire service has reached out to provide prevention in homes. But they've only done that because of one thing, because they have a positive image and people welcome them into their homes. That is not the same for the police service. They collaborate already. Rest assured that when I was fighting fires or attending road traffic collisions, the police and the fire service work very, very closely together. They have embarkation lines, they know when they can cross them, they know when they don't. But mixing them up under one commissioner, that's just about saving money and increasing bureaucracy.
Jason Ablewhite, it's a Conservative idea. Does the Conservative candidate support it?
I do, and not surprisingly I do. And the reason I do is I recognise that the two are very different services and they should be run as two different services. But I think there is a bigger question here about how those two individual authorities are currently being run. If I take the fire service, you've got a £34 million organisation being run by a chief fire officer on £200,000. You have a £129 million organisation with a chief police constable who is on £154,000. There are people in the fire service and the communications teams on over £100,000 per year. We're not talking about the front line. We're not talking about how the fire or the police operate. This is fundamentally about getting rid of some of the top tier and collaborating in the back office. If you look at Hinchinbrook Park, I live about 7 miles from Hinchinbrook, and you have a police headquarters next to a fire headquarters, which it makes absolute sense with the fire service looking to have a new headquarters for the two to collaborate, have a shared facility, shared back office, shared HR even. You know, all of the things that you can collaborate with while keeping the services totally separate in the way that they're run on the front line. And I think the only way you can bring that together is if you've got somebody coordinating that from the middle.
Nick Clark, you said in your opening statement that you favour action over bureaucracy. So for UKIP now, do you agree with your former Conservative colleague?
We're happy to keep mentioning UKIP or Conservative in this sense. It's about me standing for election as Nick Clark actually with the UKIP badge. But let me go back to this. I have an interest in this. It needs examining very carefully. Now, I know that the current fire authority is completely and absolutely undemocratic. When I was the leader of the county council, I used to appoint people to the fire authority, and they would be put there through patronage. If I'd sacked them from my cabinet, as a good soft landing place for them. If there's any troublemakers, I'd always push them out to the fire authority, and one or two stars went in there as well. I'm being slightly flippant. But it was never democratic. You could not hold those people to account because they were elected county councillors, but not in the role of the fire authority. In the same way, the old police authority was completely unaccountable as well, and I was an independent member, but I was just sort of interviewed and signed up for it, and then there were 9 county councillors. So I think bringing the fire authority or replacing it with something that is more democratic makes sense. I don't think there's any discussion about sharing operational command and control. I don't think that's on the agenda whatsoever, and I don't think necessarily at the moment that's appropriate. But if a PCC is responsible as the agent for governance and control and funding for the 2 organisations, then, like Jason, I think there may be some sense in it. Because there are cases, for example, in Ramsey, when the police station closed, the fire station is there, and why didn't the police park themselves in with the fire station? And there's no jolly good reason why they didn't, except...
But they do that. They do that currently.
Well, they don't actually. They actually sit in the library. So not the fire
Not
station.
in Ramsey, but the police and fire service do share fire stations.
Thank you, Dave. But in Ramsey, as I say, they're actually in the library at the moment. If they were together, that would be helpful. Making assets count, which is the policy of trying to share all the public realm amongst all organisations, including district councils and county councils, has a really tough time moving forward. And the reason being is there's no joint ownership. And each of those organisations, whilst they say they want to share, at the last minute it's, yeah, but I'm not sharing my bit quite as much as I want of your bit. And if this brought that together and helped solve that, I think there are savings to be had. But I think operationally, the 2 services are separate. Let me just finish, Chris, very quickly. Running the county council, I had to look after social services for children, adults, highways, and all the rest of it. Very different services. But you can, as a county councillor, as Gail will tell you as well, you can do that. It is perfectly okay under one umbrella to manage different disciplines.
Okay.